Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capallet, a certified financial planner here to help take the bite out of your budget, brunchandbudget.com. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallet.
Thank you, Dialect, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We have another Dead Day Job Army interview. If this is the first time you're listening, welcome to the Dead Day Job Army. It's a monthly Brunch and Budget series where entrepreneurs and freelancers of color share their stories and talk about the real. Because we all know it is not easy to start your own business, and it's even harder when it feels like you have to explain it to your family every time you see them, when you walk into an event and you can count on one hand the people of color in the room, when you try to ask for what you're worth but don't want to get passed over for the next person. So we ask folks to leave their shiny pictures and Instagram highlights at the door and tell us what it's really like to do the work, put in the time, and devote your life to your work. Woo! And we are super excited to have Karen Okonkwo of Tonl here today. Thank you so much for joining us, Karen, all the way from Seattle, right?
Thank you. Yes, all the way from Seattle.
I love it. I have to say, too, I kind of stalked you. That's how you're on the show.
I love that.
I have been obsessed. So if you don't know Tonl, it's TONL.co. And I actually ran into this while trying to build the Dead Day Job Army site and trying to find stock photos. And I could only find white people or people of color doing things that people just don't do.
Right.
And so Tonl is basically stock photos of real people of color doing real ass shit. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. It was much needed, long overdue.
Oh my gosh, so true. So we really are excited to hear more about it, where the idea came from in general, how you're working full time as well, correct?
Yeah. I do medical sales as my full-time gig.
Ooh.
In hopes that eventually I will be able to replace my income doing what I love, which is being an entrepreneur.
I love this. So where did the idea for Tonl come from?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. So the first half of it started actually from an experience I had having a blog with two of my sorority sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a blog that was just doing really well. It was talking about like beauty and fashion and health and wellness and just secrets told by sorority girls.
Oh,
now,
love it.
we created our own content, but there were some times where we would pull imagery from like Pinterest or Google to associate with what we were writing. And, we found that it was extremely difficult to find people outside of the white race to depict the things we were speaking on. And it really, really irked me. It actually took me like 5 hours to find a really basic shot of a Black woman like drinking coffee, something
Oh my
really
God.
basic.
What?
Yeah. And I was almost in tears. I'm just like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And so kind of moved away from that blog, but it still really bothered me that I just didn't feel like I was seeing imagery out there that was depicting people of different ethnic backgrounds, especially, people who identify as Black.
Yeah.
And so the thought just resurfaced randomly one day, and simultaneously I have a really good friend named Mersha, and her boyfriend is Joshua Kissy. And so much of, the Black community knows Josh because he's the co-founder of Street Etiquette, which is a creative agency, really talented photographer. And I was just like, gosh, I should run this idea by him, not because I want to do it, but I think he should do it. So reached out to him and I was like, hey, what do you think of stock photography? Have you ever thought of, doing it and just showcasing people, of our ethnic background? And he was like, nah, I never thought of it. He's like, but I'm down to do it, but only if you do it with me. And at the time, I was at capacity, so I was like, yeah, no.
What were you doing when he asked you? Like, what do you mean by at capacity?
Yeah, so at the time, I was really heavily involved in my other business called Her Big Day, which is a cultural wedding show. And so,
Wow.
I was just like immersed in that. Of course, I had my 9 to 5. And so I just really did not feel like I could put my 100% into it. And so we basically agreed to not do it. And so like half a year went by. And, unfortunately, there were unjust killings in the Black community from police officers.
Yeah.
Most notable, if everyone remembers, was Philando Castile.
Mm-hmm.
And that really sparked something in Josh where he's like, let me call Karen back and let me bring it up to her again and see if she's down, because we need to take our stories back, because stories are being written about us that we are criminals, that we are degenerates, all of the negative stereotypes associated with the color of our skin. And it's time for us to take back our narrative, and we can do that through imagery. And so from that point on, we just moved full throttle. And actually, it's this month, last year, that we actually decided on November 24th, we became an official business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Long story.
I'm getting chills, because that was also, I'd been thinking about Dead Day Job Army for a really long time, and we'd been talking about it. And it was also that week with Philando Castile where we were like, shit, we have to do this, don't we? That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
I think that sparked a lot of anger and movement in the Black community for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like that you have your hands in a lot of pots. Are you still doing the with Her Big Day?
Yeah, so that's still
and working full time? Okay, so you don't sleep.
I'm an anomaly. I literally can operate off of like 3 to 5 hours and I'm good.
Oh my God.
That's a necessity these days.
Seriously. So how do you juggle it all?
For me, I really believe in what I call like non-essential time. And what I mean by that is, if you are making, say, your breakfast, that's an opportunity for you to listen to your daily podcast, or for you to maybe quietly meditate. So I like to use like the periods of time where people think that they only need to be doing one thing. I'm basically multitask. So I'm definitely the queen of that. And, it's all about divvying out responsibilities as well. Just because you are a business owner doesn't mean that you need to have your hands in every single pot that makes your business function. So definitely pass on to interns. And we also, have hired people that do work for us.
Got you. How do you know when it's time to do that? Like, do you need to wait until you have the money do you need to wait until the business is making money to do that? Is it you pulling from your savings to know that it should happen?
Yeah, well, I think that when you're starting a business, it's important for you to look at the bigger picture and understand how much you need to initially invest in order to be able to do, whether it's 1 year's worth of work, 6 months, 5 years, whatever you want to choose. And so for us, we really did a projection prior, and we're like, okay, this is how much it's going to take to just launch off our business. And so we invested that money. And then, of course, it's nice for you to become profitable, because then you can start to, say, okay, well, we can use help in this area. But I would say not to underestimate interns. As long as it's done lawfully, where they're able to obtain school credit, that's a great way for you to tap into the community, give them that exposure, but also take some things off of your plate.
Right. And what do you end up using interns for?
So we use interns for different areas. If I'm talking about Her Big Day, it was for sponsorship, for marketing, for event planning. And then for Tonl, we're looking into social media, since that's a really huge part of our business, and that's something that can definitely be passed on. So that, and of course, public relations too. So one of the biggest reasons why Tonl is where it's at today is because of people speaking about us.
Right.
And so, when you take that one step further, you actually have someone who's educated in PR. So, for example, we have Peter Walksmith. He does our PR for us. And he's just pitching stories, and it's getting our name out there. So you can definitely have people like that in your corner.
Got it. Yeah. And he's a PR firm that you hired?
Yeah. So he actually is someone who knew Josh. He actually was here in Seattle, but he had been, following street etiquette and had met Josh before. And so Josh had put in a really good name for him. And so, he's been doing that for us for a few weeks now.
Wow. And is that something that you built into your initial investment, knowing that that's how you wanted to get it off the ground? How did you decide that it was time to have a PR person involved?
Yeah, so when you start to feel like you are spread thin is when you need to take a step back and analyze and say, okay, what can I give away? And so we were at the point where we were stretched. And so, that was the time that we were just like, okay, where are we at financially? Where are we at time-wise? And what can we give away? And, how much can we give away? And that's how we came to that conclusion that it was time to make that shift.
Got you. Okay. Got it. And how are you, I guess with the full-time job, I'm just like, because you're running two businesses, you have a full-time job. Do you have a deadline for when you're like, all right, that's it, I'm quitting?
You mean like quitting for the day or quitting like?
Oh, quitting in general, like transitioning into like being a full-time entrepreneur.
Oh, what? Yes, I do. I actually have it on my wall. Well, I have like, you have a stretch goal and then you have like your goal. So my goal is April 2020. My stretch goal is April 2018.
Oh, wow.
So, because by then I'll be 30. So I have this thing free before 30 in my mind. And so, yeah, that's my stretch goal next year.
I want to check in with you in April. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your history and your family background. How do you feel like that your family life and history inform your work?
Yeah, very, very, very prevalent. In everything that I do is my faith base, which is very much tied to the West African Nigerian culture, very aligned with Christianity. I'm actually Catholic, and being raised in a Nigerian household really taught us about discipline, about being the best. My dad, if you ever came to him with a B on your report card, you would be laughed at. Like, I remember I was a little kid and I ran home. I thought, because I was seeing all these other kids with C's and D's, and so I thought it was cool walking in with some B's. And I was so excited. I opened it and I showed my dad, and he literally looked down at me with disgust and he's like, "These are bad." And he just walked away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Whoa.
So ever since then, I have never, ever allowed myself to be anything less than. And that's something that's always pushed me to get the things that I want, because I've always been taught, if you want something, go out and get it and go out and be the best at it. So that's, my upbringing is something that really has shaped who I am.
Yeah, definitely. And so are you first generation?
Yes, I am.
Nice.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I can imagine just like growing. I grew up in an immigrant household, also first generation, or like I was born in the Philippines, moved here when I was 2. So
wow,
sort of first generation.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. And so in terms of like education and schooling and things like that, it sounds like that was a really important part of your family life. And how do you feel that like that led to you wanting to be an entrepreneur?
So one thing that I will note is that my parents, they both had really prevalent jobs. When you're a Nigerian, you have to be like in the medical field, an engineer, a lawyer, or a disgrace.
Oh my God. My dad said I could also be a prostitute. So
yeah. So I already had seen that caliber of work ethic. But then my dad branched out and started his own company called Metastar. And it's a pharmaceutical staffing company.
Wow.
And so I've always seen entrepreneurship in that realm. So it's always been in my background. I think for me, what sparked it is that sometimes when you find yourself where you want to be in corporate America, you start to realize that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And for me, I started to kind of shift my eyes toward what I thought was more my passion, which actually started with party planning. When I moved out here to Seattle, I didn't know anyone. And so I decided to join meetup.com, start my own meetup, meet women that way. I started to do parties for them, started to do parties outside of the meetup group. That a friend of mine was like, "Man, you're so good at this. Why don't you just start your own business?" And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let me go full throttle. And that's actually where it all started, was in 2012.
Wow, that's so cool. So it sounds like that you like networking, which
yes,
which is an anomaly. Do you have any advice for people who hate networking, and how we can, I don't know if anyone who hates it necessarily ends up liking it, but like how can we get the most out of it regardless of whether or not we're into it, I guess.
Yeah, I would say don't overwhelm yourself with feeling like you need to talk to a million people when you're at a networking event. You know, I think the best way to get you to speak is to actually stand in areas where you don't have to do any work. So what I mean by that is if there is a bar, if there's a food table, literally just stand there. You don't even have to force yourself to walk around because people will be there, and you can start the conversation with, isn't that drink so good? I love, you know, tequila on the rocks. And then it just sparks just opening, you know, disrupting whatever energy was in the mix. And now you're disrupting it and you have someone's attention. And then you can segue. So what do you do? And then from then on, whether or not you guys have anything in common, at least you were able to show who you are. And if they find you of value, you know, then they'll continue the conversation. But that's always been a trick of mine. If I'm socially exhausted, I literally would just stand by the food table because I don't have to do any work.
Socially exhausted. That's the phrase for it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think everybody thinks that at networking things that you need to know exactly what to say to get somebody's attention, like it's a dating ad or something like that. When really just pointing at a thing in the room and saying, hey, that's a thing. Because you got to remember, it's like in the wild, you know, they're more afraid of you than you're afraid of them. So take the thing.
Exactly.
My thing I like to do is take the thing I'm afraid of and just speak it out loud, and they'll be like, oh yeah, oh me too, and then y'all are cool.
Yes, that's a good point. And then, you know what, I just went to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's Discovery launch party. They have they're just amazing. They've given away so many grants. But I was speaking to someone else, and then I walked away, went to a different section, and a gentleman came up to me and he was like, hey, I heard that you mentioned something about NPR and that your business was on there. And I was like, gosh, that's really clever. All he did was he walks around, he eavesdrops to find something that he can talk to you about. Oh. And then he'll find you later and he'll use that as like his ammunition to spark a conversation. I was like, wow, that was really interesting how he did it. Because then he segued, he's like, oh yeah, I have this event space and da-da-da. And I just thought that was really clever.
All right, so eavesdrop, y'all.
Oh, man. All right, everybody. Get your networking hats on while we go to a song. That's good.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, so for our first song, we're actually going to go to a let me see if I can pronounce this correctly. Get me right. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to mess that name up. But he's currently residing in Cardiff in the UK. He's from a small town in Lagos, whose name I don't even know how to start to pronounce. His name is Magugu, and his song is Omo Naija. And we'll be back in a minute. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
I just stay here, they reminisce. Back then in Latski, they asked a small picking. When I know they hear word, way before this music team. Up and coming area boy, always roaming on the streets. No shoes, no slippers, not bare feet. When you chop food, they go give you one meat. Super Ted, Voltron, Fraggle Rock. Them times TV go start at 4 o'clock. You go wear your best clothes when you party. Eating roasted yam, corn and pear, even bolly. Police and thief, hide and seek, now the game we play. You go join money with your party to get sugar cane. When you enter trouble, they go flog you cane. You go chop about 6 to 10 strokes. Fanta, Sprite or Coke on your by day. Everybody know a person where they call Friday. Green and white, green be the flag. Peace and unity be the motto. Even if I day for Jan, make I tell you so if you don't mind Jan. I'm on Naija. I be Naija. I'm on Naija. Remember back in school, they go say you're cool. If you sabi dance well, way before Azonto, Alanta, Nagalala, Eba Egusi, Ewedu, and Amala. Mama put on the roadside. If you see Egulu, they come, you go high. Back in them times with a spen cover, climbing tree to plot mango or pawpaw. Tap on hunting, it's like got catching up or law. You go call them cool if you be your senior. Everybody know a person where they call junior. Ade, Chidi, Ufoma, Sumbo, hey. You go bar fit a bucket of water. You go call them Oga if you wear Agbada. Confirm Omo Naija. AJ boy, Olodi Papa. Green and white, green be the flag. Peace and unity be the motto. Even if I did for Jan, make I tell you so if you don't know Jan. I'm a Naija. I be Naija. I'm a Naija. No matter where I go, green and white, green be the color I go show them. Wole show Yinka, Fela Kuti, Achebe, Sonny Ade, Olajuwon, Okocha, Azikiwe, Awolowo, Wachuku Fumi Kuti, Balewa, Bello, Moritala Mohammed, Abi, Naja boy to the fullest. Even if I did for the UK, I still go to represent AJ, Apapa, Ikoyi, Festax, Surulere. Hustle to make bread, Agege. One day we go take them back home. Education are the key to the future. Proud African to the bone. No matter where I go represent my culture. Green and white, green be the flag. Peace and unity be the motto. Even if I did for Jan, make I tell you so if you don't know Jan. I'm a Naija. I be Naija. I'm a Naija.
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Omo Naija by Magugu from Ajagunye. Maybe? I don't know.
Karen was trying to help us
we're
pronounce
trying
it during the song.
Trying to get it right. Man, I lament that my name is dialect, but I know so few languages, just a few.
It's okay.
Especially we just came from Europe where everybody's like, oh yeah, I know 17 languages.
Yeah, I know all of them.
Oh, man.
Right?
I wish.
I know, me too. Oh, man.
That's what they get with all that socialized healthcare. They have time to study more languages.
Yeah,
'Cause
right?
Pay medical bills.
Seriously.
They don't have sick days. They have like study days. I'm gonna take
Got
a
them too.
long weekend to study some stuff.
Another language. Why not? Why not?
Why
Oh,
not?
Man.
Man.
Oh man,
wish.
I know, right? So we just talked about some good networking stuff before the song, and I'm actually really curious. You talked about doing cash flow projections. What is the business model for Tonl, and when do you anticipate that you'll be profitable with it?
Well, we are already profitable.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's amazing!
So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, it's been amazing. So in terms of our business model, we studied how other stock photography businesses were laid out. And it seemed, pretty straightforward. They had an option for you to just buy a solo image, and they priced that out. But then you also have the ability to get subscriptions. So we have friends who are in the stock photography business, but are in a more niche setup. They're called blogettes. And so we really look to them to kind of gauge like a great price point, given the fact that we are also a niche. And so we really decided to go with a structure that's similar to theirs. And it's been really successful, from a small business standpoint. So we have a lot of small businesses, people who are personal use users, but then we also have large companies. And so those large companies are, buying more exclusive subscriptions that are catered to their organization. And so that's pretty much our business model is, leveraging those different arenas with photography, with the images.
What does exclusive subscription mean? Like, do you take photos based on requests that they're looking for, certain ethnicities, certain poses, scenes?
So we veer away from specific photo sessions since that's not our business model. However, if you would like us to create a photo specific layout, but we're able to use that imagery on our site, then we can work together with you. Another exclusivity would just be the fact that they want multiple users and they want to have a certain amount of photos that they have access to. So those are different ways that we can, have a special exclusive deal with them.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Is this like ahead of schedule for you that you're profitable? Was this the plan?
I'm just trying to, well, yeah, I'd say we're ahead of schedule. I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking about how I know that people have started something like this, but it doesn't matter if you're first to market. It matters how you execute. It matters about your community. And really the community is the reason why we have what we have. We don't take that for granted. So I'm sitting here, I'm just smitten because I'm just thinking of the big names that we all know and love that have reached out to us. And it just goes to show you that if you have something, don't sit on it, because there's someone out there who needs it. And I just think about how we were going to pass on doing this.
Yeah.
And now we look forward and we're like, this is amazing. I mean, the industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People don't know that. Stock photography is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So why not get a piece of that pie?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I also wanted to point out the thing you said about being first to market doesn't guarantee success either.
Like Friendster.
Well, and that's often the case. Well, I mean, I've seen it amongst my peoples, and you've seen it in larger companies, that people have a good idea, a really strong idea, and they rush it out before they've got everything together, and then someone else figures out what they're doing, comes out with a better structured model, and ends up beating them.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is always better to be second to market. And if you are going to be first to market, then I would hope that you do extensive research. Because when I tell you guys, we decided to go full throttle actually in the summertime. We became an official business in the fall, but in between then, we just decided, hey, we're going to pick all these people's brains. We are going to study all these business models. We're going to make sure that we speak to our audience and we get everything that they are needing. And we didn't execute until this year in August. So, make sure that if you are going to be first to market, if you're going to be second to market, that you are studying what the people want, So
how do you find the balance? Because I feel like there's people who are like, ready, fire, aim. And then there are people who are stuck in analysis paralysis. And it sounds like you found the balance between like doing enough research so that like, okay, I think this is how people want it, the way they want it. But also like, but we do have to actually like put this out eventually and not get caught in that research cycle. How did you decide like when was the right time?
I think what's important for you and your business partner, or just you, is you need to set a date. So even if the date is 2 weeks from now, well, then that means that you're going to need to do 2 weeks worth of extensive research to go full throttle. And it's not like it has to be legalistic, when you actually launch, but I would just not get into this rhythm of, oh, it has to be perfect, because the only way you're going to know what works for your business is to just start working your business. And then, of course, you'll adjust, always make sure that you have periods where you are going to get back to the chopping block and be like, okay, is this working? Is this not working? And, lay that out, create a content calendar. So then you are aware of what you're going to be doing, what moves you're making with your business, and you can look back on all of that.
Yeah.
Say, okay, around this time, we were doing this. How effective was it? So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you're saying about the community aspect of it, which I think is really great. And what communities did you reach out to? How do you feel they helped sort of like get Tonl off the ground, all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I will say this, and I'm not even saying this to brag, we actually have not reached out to, in that time frame, we didn't reach out to communities. Now, what we did do is we reached out in the form of asking our followers what they wanted, engaging them, making them feel like they were a part of every single element of our launch, which I think everyone should do. Don't just have a landing page and ask people for their email, and then that's it. Actually have a landing page that engages them, that actually makes them feel like they are really a part of the product. So with that said, the outline was one of the first people to reach out to us and do an interview. That interview catapulted us to have exposure to NPR, because NPR got a hold of that and they called us literally maybe 8 hours before it had published. And they were like, I need you on our radio. And that opportunity actually opened up so many doors when it comes to access to communities that even to this day, people are putting, when we say, how did you hear about us? They're still putting NPR, so different medians has been a supporter of us. Okay, Africa, in terms of like community, Gosh, I know I'm missing so many, Afro punk. I mean, everyone has, whether it's someone in their organization who's speaking about us, whether it's the organization speaking about us, they've all been supporters of us.
That's
so
fantastic.
we're grateful in that realm.
Yeah. What kinds of things did you ask your audience to engage them throughout the process?
So we had a landing page cover, and we would change it every single month. And so what we would do is we would use a Twitter poll, and we would say, which is going to be our next photo cover for, say, August.
That's
so
dope.
we'd put all
That's
three,
cool.
and then you vote on it. And so whoever won, well, obviously that would be the cover. And so we also did a contest, because we have a narrative section of our page where you can learn the story behind the subject in the picture. And so we did a contest. It's, what's your narrative? So put it out to the community. You guys have the ability to, get your story told and your pictures taken. So we did that. And we also would implement like different, how do I explain it? Like testimonials. And so we would put that as like Insta stories. So then people would get to see like what sort of impact, the photography that we have has on people. So yeah, those are just different ways that we've utilized marketing and community.
It's all so clever. I love it. And I feel like, I think that people stop at a landing page and email address when really, especially if you have such a long time between like conception and launch time, how do you keep people like having you top of mind? And I think that's such a cool way to do it. How do you, in terms of like looking for models and like setting up shoots and things like that, how do you find your models? How are they compensated?
Yeah. So right now, the models that a lot of people have seen have just been our friends.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that was a surprise to a lot of people, because they're just like, how did you find them? We're like, no, these are just our friends, like everyday
friends.
People. And and so just studying what other stock photography businesses were doing, it seemed the norm that they were just doing model release forms. And so we provide the imagery at no cost to the models, so then they can use it for their portfolios. And so that's the exchange that we have with them. And then also we have two other photographers outside of Josh. One of them is Sam Fu. He's here in Seattle. And then Temi Coker. He's in Dallas, Fort Worth area in Texas. And so, they also have their pool of people that they use. We've had a few people reach out to us asking for specific things. One of them, actually, there was a woman, she's albino, and she said, hey, do you guys have any albino pictures? And you know what? When anyone asks me something that is not on our page, I literally say, nope, but you will be the first person that we'll feature. How about we take a picture of you?
That's great.
So, actually today, to my knowledge, we're taking pictures of this woman who reached out to us on Twitter, who is albino. So
oh my God.
You'll be seeing her soon.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm going to look out for that. Oh man.
Yeah, super dope.
I love it. So this is so crazy to me that like you spend most of your day like at a full-time job doing medical sales. I'm still How do you feel like that side of it, or the corporate side of it, has informed you as an entrepreneur?
You know what? I think that everyone, if they can, should get into corporate America, even if it's for a small period of time. And I say that because you get to experience what it is to be an employee, because when you are a boss of someone, you will know exactly how you should be treating them.
Yes.
Not only that, but there's a lot of cool, things to take from a business, whether it's like legal jargon, whether it's training that you're like, okay, I could probably do that training, with my own business, later on in life. And so, for me also, I think it's important as an entrepreneur to have what we call a business building job. And a business building job is basically a job that gives you flexibility. So medical sales, I make my own hours. I have a quota. So long as I'm hitting my quota, we have no problems, And
Right.
so, I'm transparent that I do things on the side, as long as what you do on the side doesn't conflict with your corporate America job, there shouldn't be an issue. And so I would tell anyone, rather than focusing on climbing the corporate ladder that doesn't even serve you, get a job that can give you flexibility and time. It may pay you less, but at least you are working on your side hustle and you're giving it the attention that it deserves beyond just, 5 to 12. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and if your side job is a job on the side, you know, a lot of people think, oh, I should get this 9-to-5 thing or this part-time thing just so I can make money, and they don't think too much about the skills that they're building in it. And a lot of times they'll say, take the thing from your side hustle, take the thing from your talent or your skill, and apply that to the business world, when the opposite can be true as well.
Yeah.
right. That's a good point.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think it's interesting that you in your job do get to set your own schedule on some level. And so you have sort of the cushion of the employee status, but also like you get to practice doing like the time management side on the, because I feel like that was the hardest part for me transitioning, was like, holy shit, no one's telling me when I have to be somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And actually, for the past, because I've been doing medical sales for like 7.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
so I almost have this sense of freedom, like I am an entrepreneur, because, you know, I don't have anyone like calling me and asking me what I'm doing. I don't go to an office. And so I've had a little taste of that, you know, quote unquote freedom. But of course, like myself and other people who work jobs, I still have a leash. You know, my leash is just a little looser.
Yeah, totally. So April 2018, we're ready for you.
Thank you.
What were
I'm
some?
excited.
Yeah, totally. We are excited for you. I know the feeling. What were
Thank
some of
you.
the challenges that you faced starting Tonl and kind of getting Tonl off the ground? How did you overcome them?
Well, it goes back to your question about finances. I really believe in compensating people correctly. And so that was something that was like making my hands sweat, because I'm just like, okay, what's fair? You know, what can we handle? And, you know, lucky for us, we, decided on 2 top caliber photographers, and we pay them well, and there's going to be so much room for growth that we definitely want to be able to compensate them even more. But that was something where I feared, I'm like, will we be able to pay them, and we have. So that was a fear of mine. And then it's just a funny story. I think I talked about this like a while ago on online, but Josh and we were supposed to launch on a certain day, and we didn't end up launching because we were so confident that we knew the infrastructure of our website, and we just thought, oh yeah, we'll just upload the photos and it'll be fine. Kind of find out it was way more manual than we thought. So that was like a funny yet like crazy experience, because we did not launch on time. And so people were like messaging us. Yeah, I was like, literally, we're just sitting here like, the site is ready, the pictures are just not in there. And so that was like a really like dumb moment for us. We're like, wow, why did we think that this was going to be so much easier? And thank God for Jermaine Davis and Amir Carter. They both worked on the website and really helped it, because they're both developers, and they helped a lot. So
oh man, that's so crazy. How many pictures do you have on the site now?
Oh gosh, we probably have like over 2,000 photos.
Oh wow.
I would have to count. Yeah, we have quite a bit. We have a lot that we haven't uploaded yet, because we're doing it, like in segments. We promise new photos at the first of the month. So yeah, we have quite a bit.
That's fantastic. And I don't know if you mind sharing, how many subscribers do you have right now?
Oh, wow. That's sadly, I do not know off the top of my head. I can tell you that our pre-subscription, we had over 1,400 pre-subscribers.
What?
So yeah. When I tell people that, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's just simple. You got to give people something.
Yeah.
We said, sign up. We'll give you 5 free images at launch.
Oh yeah,
and
I did that.
Yeah, and actually what's interesting is that we thought, okay, yeah, that's the reason why people are coming to, our site is because, or coming to support us because they want the 5 free images. But then once we launched, believe it or not many people have used their 5 free images.
I didn't know that you were giving that to us. I was just like, I just signed up because I wanted to know when you launched. And then I got the email and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was laughing. We're like, wow, people really did want to support us. Like, they didn't care about the photos. Like, till this day, like, probably more than half of the people have not, like, cashed in their 5 free images.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. Why do you feel like this is resonating with people at this time?
Man, well, I think that ignorance may not be so blissful. And when you point out something to someone, they start to, open their eyes a little bit more. And I say that not only in the Black community of people just being conditioned to see the world white, but I actually mean white people as well. And I always tell people that, believe it or not, our white community that supports us is almost neck and neck with the Black community. And that's because they're sick and tired of seeing the same thing themselves. And so, of course, there's been a lot of racial profiling, discrimination. We have a very racist president. And so I think it just sparks something in people because of the timing. And we're ready for change, And so that's why I think it's just resonated so deeply with everyone across all ethnic backgrounds.
Yeah, I love it. Such a simple thing, but it really makes such an impact. All right, we're going to go to a song where we let all of that marinate a little because, whoo.
Well, actually, it's going to marinate for us, but for y'all, it's just going to continue. We're moving from Lagos to Lyon, France, with an artist named Nai Ja with his song Repatriate Your Dollars. And we'll be back in a minute. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Please bring back your dollar bills. It's now time for repatriation. You're under arrest for being a threat. Whoa, no. Dollars. Whoa, no. See, repatriate your dollars. Repatriate your dollars. Whoa, no. See, repatriate your dollars. No more houses in Puguma. No more houses nowhere. No more killings in Dawaki. There's too much of bloodshed. No more misappropriation. Oh no, together we gon' find this corruption. Everywhere, everywhere. No more houses in Joburg. No more Christmas in New York or Times Square, wherever you are now. No more Swiss bank accounts. We have never done the food and you won't go there. Stolen so much you don't know the amount. Whoa, no, see, repatriate your dollars. Whoa, no, see, repatriate your dollars. Repatriate your dollars. Whoa, no, see, repatriate your dollars. Repatriate your dollars, your dollars, your dollars. Repatriate your dollars. Repatriate your dollars, your dollars, your dollars. Repatriate your dollars. Residential suite in Dubai. Holiday home in Hawaii. You're surfing on the beach, you are looking for a meal. Oh, private jet, see them tearing through the sky. So much greed and I don't know why. People at home, they continue to die and die and die and die down. And no more false contracts and promises. And no more bogus speeches and philosophies. As a matter of fact, oh, you didn't go to school. You call yourself a doctor. You managed to pass, buying your way through. Whoa, no, see, repatriate your dollars. Repatriate your dollars. Bring them home. For food and education. Oh, to bring them home. And no more corruption. Oh, to bring them home. For food and education. Oh, would you bring them home? Would you bring them home? Oh, would you bring them home? Oh, would you bring them home? Oh, would you bring them home? Bring them, oh, would you bring them home?
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Repatriate Your Dollars by Naija. Brunch Budget, Bonfire Radio. Here with another Dead Day Job Army interview.
Yes, with Karen Okonkwo from Tonl, Tonl.co. If you need stock photos that aren't just white people,
Yeah.
check them out. I feel like it's that simple. It really is.
No,
Yeah.
it's a novel concept. You
Yeah.
know, someday somebody was sitting around. They had a team of scientists and brand managers and social media experts, and they all got together and they said, "What if pictures, but not just white people?" It blew
Like,
everybody's
literally,
minds.
that's how simple it is.
Oh my god. Yeah, I
Man.
love it so much. So what's
I mean, although on the real, like, you know, you're talking about a lot earlier, the whole thing about niching down is really important that
Yeah.
a lot of us sleep on. So many of us, from artists to creators and inventors, when you ask them who they're trying to sell their product to or serve, they say everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means you're not selling it to anybody.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that so much. So, what's a piece of advice that you'd give to a person of color working a full-time job, wanting to start a business? They probably are already like in their career. And you said you've been doing this for 7.5 years. So like you're in medical sales.
Yeah.
And also, I guess just being a woman of color in general in your field. How do you, any advice for like transitioning out of that?
Yeah, I would say stop believing that you are going to suffer if you leave your job.
Ooh.
Because if there is a will, there is a way. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to find ways. Can you guys still hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways for you guys to make up whatever side money you need to get around. And so I would just say, don't second guess yourself. Believe in your product, believe in what you're doing, and understand that there is a grind to it. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, well, I just want to get rich quick. And that's a surefire way to never get rich, because you're so fixated on the money part. Focus on your product, focus on engaging your audience, and the money will come. And I'll also say that just because you hate your job doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go start a business.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, it could just be that maybe you need to find a more aligned job with your interests.
Maybe
but
you should work for
if
Tonl.
you really, what'd you say?
Maybe you should work for Tonl.
Hey, got my breath. Yeah, I would just say that really ask yourself, what is your why? Why you want to do whatever it is that you want to do, because it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's probably going to be much harder than actually going to your 9 to 5. And so identify your why, and that will be what you'll fall on the low days, because you're going to have low days building a business. That's just the humanistic fact of building something that you love. So make sure that you know why you're doing what you're doing, and that will take you miles.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like there's
Thank
so
you.
much pressure, especially like in the last like 5-10 years, to be like, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be Instagram famous. I'm going to take pictures of myself on the beach all the time with my laptop. Like that kind of imagery is like, we're inundated with it.
Yeah, kids say they want to grow up to be CEO. I'm like, CEO of what?
Yeah.
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 You got to like lay out your strategic plan. You got to have a strategic plan. Else it's just fluff.
Yeah, totally. So how do you know whether it's the right thing for you to start a business or to just like look for another career?
Well, I would say that your why should make you cry. So
oh, good rhyme.
if you sincerely feel deeply connected to what you want to do and it's attached to your purpose, that's how you know you should do it. And I would just tell people that, you know, think of what you want your life to look like. Okay, write everything down, and then in another line, I want you to put a dollar amount next to it. So if your life consists of a Ferrari, it consists of paying off your student loans, quantify that, and then work backwards and say, okay, what is it that I need to do in order to achieve that? What vehicle do I need to achieve that? And so sometimes we're just like, yeah, I want to do a wedding show, and you just walk around, you don't have any direction, you don't even know how much you want to gain from this wedding show. It doesn't make any sense if you don't know what that dollar amount you're working toward is. So I would tell people to work backwards.
Yeah, and to have, I feel that's great, because I feel like a lot of people say things into the air, but there's nothing actually concrete that they can kind of use to guide them.
Yeah.
And one
That's
thing,
the easiest way.
and one thing for folks who, when they hear you say that, have a dollar amount you're working towards, and they get scared and want to start flubbing because the dollar amount thing is weird to them. One thing that has helped me is make it up, because it's okay to change it if you're wrong.
Yeah, and it's okay to be wrong, because you just made it up anyway.
Exactly. Because I hear that, and I've been doing this for a minute now, and I hear this, and I'm like, oh, wait, make up a dollar amount. But if it's a new business, I don't know how much I should, if I'm good.
Yeah.
And you know what? And you can just make your trajectory for like 1 year or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like whatever is the most attainable for you. Because I mean, if like you even need to be partially retired, or like think of what that would look like, like that would be what I would say to anyone who finds it to be daunting, seeing that thing. Because the reality is that it's going to be a really big number.
Right.
Now, big numbers mean that you need to have a really big why, and you have to be willing to do the ultimate sacrifice, because wealthy people, they didn't just appear wealthy unless, of course, they had a hand-me-down. But most people, they had to work years. Like, I heard the story about Revolve. It's a clothing company. They've been around for 14 years, and they said that they are over $100 million business now. And they started in their homes. They never took an investor, but it took time. It took the respect of people and relationships, and you just got to know what it takes.
Yeah. Wow. 14 years. Woo.
14 years.
Where do you see yourself and Tonl in the next 5 years? What's next for you?
For us, I label it as the premier stock photography business. And so what I mean by that is implementing, of course, diversity, because that's what we stand for, but really having great relationships with big brands, which is happening now. I just foresee a total shift in the way that we see imagery, that we're going to start to see an even playing field of different races, and we really see ourselves from a philanthropic standpoint. We hope that our business gets to a point where we can actually go out there and take our money and invest in underrepresented communities. So, that's the future that we see for ourselves, is again, being the premier diverse stock photography business, and then also giving back to the community.
Oh, I love that.
So, no big plans. Just gonna
NBD.
Change the game, create equality where there is none, and help out folks who need help.
Whatevs. Just
little
on the
something.
side.
Maybe put away something for retirement.
Yeah, all of that.
Oh my
So
God.
funny.
Buy a Tesla
Yeah,
for everyone.
Man, I just rode in a Tesla a few weeks ago,
Oh,
because I used to be like, what's the hype? Oh my gosh.
the
Now I
hype
know
is
why.
real.
Yeah, the hype is hella real. So funny.
Oh man, that happened to us too. Oh man. So last question, because we're running out of time, unfortunately. What do you do to tell yourself to keep going, and who do you look to for inspiration?
It's okay to say yes.
Yeah.
It's okay to also not say us.
Yeah, I look to God for inspiration. I think it's important to know that we are all here for a reason, and our purpose is built within us. We just have to ignite that, because God had a plan for us before we were even born. And so I always take the time. I actually tell people, this is like a known thing, at 12 o'clock, I always stop and I thank God, or I talk to him. And I believe in immersing gratefulness toward him throughout the day. But, I'm human. I know that there are some times where I kind of get tunnel vision, and I know that 12 o'clock is when I praise him and I thank him. So, my inspiration goes back to my purpose in life, and, just accepting that God is with me throughout it all. Even if I have down days, I always resort to my why, which is the fact that I want to be a teacher. I want to give back to people. I want to help my community. So
I love that. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Your why should make you cry.
Yeah, your why should make you cry.
Where can people find you?
So for me personally, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Karen Okonkwo. For Tonl, for Instagram and Twitter, it's at Tonl. For Facebook, it's /Tonal Imagery.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Another amazing
Thank
Dead Day Job
you.
Army interview. Woo.
You guys are amazing. Thank
No,
you.
you're
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank
You're
you.
amazing.
All right, before we get into an It's Amazing Fest, we're going to bring the music back to the U.S., to Oakland, California with
Hey.
Tone 7. I was looking for artists named Tonal, but Tonal was mostly just the name of a million record labels in Europe. But Tone 7's got
Wow.
this song, Ballot or the Gun, and we're going to check you next week. Thanks for listening to another Dead Day Job Army interview. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. Peace.
Oh man, that was so good.
Didn't think it in this way. Another death, another day. Lying face down in the sand, still by another's hand. Families trying to face the strain. Nothing will erase the pain. Lies that mount to heaven's gate. Bless the soul who knows not hate. No, we don't want your war. We've seen it all before. Send us to do your dirty work. Your packages honor in your ivory tower, barking out the orders. Think you've had your final